Hi, Tiarnan here from the Marketing Doctor. I'm founder of KeCatalyst Healthcare Marketing Agency. We've worked with over 50 healthcare brands in the past 4 or 5 years. I wanted to jump on and talk about one of the biggest misconceptions we see in healthcare marketing. We work with both private healthcare providers and medical education businesses, coaches, communities, all in healthcare, and we've seen this the whole way across the board. But we definitely have seen it most in private healthcare because of a fear of following up and some concerns around how to actually manage leads. So I jump right into it. Hopefully by the end of this video, things are a lot more clear on how you should actually approach marketing for your clinic. And you know exactly what steps you should be taking and what you should be measuring. So if we look at the marketing process, the end goal is you get a new patient, and the start is no one knows who you are. Basically, you need to take people from I don't know who this person is all the way to you book them in for a treatment. There are 3 steps to this process. So you need to get qualified leads, you need to then work those qualified leads, and you need to get them booked in. If we start with the get the qualified leads part, this is usually the part that people obsess with most, especially if they've got a bit of an interest in growth and a bit of an interest in getting new patients for their clinic. So they're focused on acquisition. What they'll typically do is jump into spending money on ads, invest a lot in their website or their SEO, or go down the social media route, or they'll pick up a combination of all of the above. We particularly focus on paid advertising between Google and Meta. We often default to Meta advertising. And just a quick caveat, the difference between running ads on Meta and Google is that Google ads are intent-based, meaning someone is directly searching for an orthopedic surgeon near them, whereas on Meta ads, you have to target people based on interest, essentially through your copy and through your creative. So Meta ads typically cheaper, typically lower cost per lead. Google ads typically higher cost per qualified lead, although conversion rates can be slightly higher. But this is what I want to jump into really. Just a small caveat on SEO and social media. Social media, good for boosting conversion rates, not very good for generating interest in general, unless you're running paid campaigns, unless you've got a huge budget. And SEO, similarly, fantastic for generating interest, fantastic for in the long term especially, something that every clinic should think about, but not very good in the short term. So we have all these different vehicles for generating qualified leads. What we need to decide is what a qualified lead is. What we typically default to is someone who's in the area, someone who has expressed a particular interest in that particular service within a fixed time frame, within the next 90 days, as an example. Someone who has requested they be contacted, someone who has verified that they actually are a real contact and not a bot and not someone just filling out the form for the sake of it, and someone who is budget aware. So how we get around this is we always include price, location, and service in all of our ads, and we get qualified leads. So as an advertising agency, as a lead generation agency, this is what we particularly focus on, is getting the qualified leads part, but this is only half of the picture. So if you get qualified leads, the mistake that most clinics make, we've certainly seen this over the past 5 years, is that they get the qualified leads and they skip the working the qualified leads part, and they jump expecting bookings to increase directly from that. For context, a lot of the clinics we work with are selling high ticket services, surgeries that can easily cost £5,000 all the way up to £20,000 or £30,000 treatments. What that means is the chances of someone jumping from qualified lead direct to booking is very low. It can be different in services like private GP, and often I encourage Google ads for a service like that, because you can just set up a booking link, people will just book in, so long as you've got conversion rate optimizations set up on your website and on your page. But instead, often is people jumping from the qualified leads, so they decide they want to run Meta ads or Google ads, and then they kind of just assume bookings will increase because of that. What I'd like to do now is focus a bit on this aspect, which is data. There's a few mistakes that can be made here. What we see clinics often do, especially if they do have a huge budget, so they're spending less than £1,000 per month, is that they just kind of discount marketing as a cost that has to happen. And so they'll run ads, they'll spend a few £100, maybe £1,000 on ads. and they have really got no idea whether the ads are working or not. So I get on a call with them. I ask what their conversion rates are, what their booking rates are, what their cost per leads are, what the click-through rates are, and so on. And they really don't know. They just know that sometimes if they run ads, their bookings increase, and sometimes they don't. They don't really know what causes it. They don't know which ads perform best, why they perform best. So there's this kind of knowledge that they should be advertising, so they do, but actually they're not measuring close to revenue, they're not tracking what's important, and they haven't really worked on any KPIs so they can adjust whether they should increase or decrease their ad spend based on performance. So first things first, let's get this right. Let's make sure we have our data set up correctly so we always know what we're doing with our ads. We're never just running an ad that sends people to a website with no idea on what happens once they get to the website, or no intentionality behind it. We're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to always have a sequence set up so that I know I've got a top of funnel ad that collects people at the top, and we know that at the bottom we want bookings, and we're always measuring the two alongside each other. Let me get rid of this for now. So going back to the biggest problem that we see, especially for higher ticket services, not super important for lower ticket services, but still actually very important when it comes to competition, especially if you're in a very competitive area. What typically happens is, like I said, we get a lead that comes through one of our ad campaigns or through social media. And when clinics have been managing advertising campaigns themselves, like I said, they're just expecting a booking to come from that. What they ignore is this whole cycle of working your qualified leads. What that means is, as soon as the lead comes in, someone calling them within 5 minutes, as quickly as possible, as soon as they come in within working hours, even extending the hours that you're open so that you can catch more people in the evening. Super important. This is probably the highest leverage thing that you can do. Call someone when they express interest. This is important regardless of whether you're running Meta ads or Google ads. It also means whenever someone calls you, being there to answer the phone. Next thing is actually helping the people who are on the phones and increasing your booking availability. You do not want to get into a cycle of patient inquires, asks a question, you hang up the phone, you answer the question, you go find someone else to answer the question, you try and get back in contact with the patient, you miss the patient, send an email, the patient calls you, you miss the patient, and you get into this cycle which just kills conversion rates. You want to be set up for success, which means if you're running an ad for a particular service, you have bookings available for that service. You know when the bookings are available, you know the price of the service, you know most of the common questions that people ask, and you've got a flow set up to just book people directly in. Again, people will always have questions. Don't always expect that people will book in directly, especially if something is not free. We typically don't recommend setting up free services in general, unless you're very confident with your qualification process and your ability to handle volume. So you need to have a good process of person leaves their details or calls you directly, you instantly answer the phone, or you instantly call them if they've left an inquiry. You know when your next slots are available, you know what the price is, and you know how to answer any common objections or questions they might have. Then if they do not book in, or if you cannot reach them, you enter them into a flow with at least 7 touch points across multiple different services. By services, I mean domains, and so SMS or phoning them or emailing them. A lot of this comes down to having good lead handlers and a good CRM that manages this appropriately. But this all comes under the umbrella of working your qualified leads. If you get a qualified lead in, again, the ad has done its job, getting the qualified lead at a low cost, or the organic has done its job, or social media posting has done its job, or SEO has done its job, whatever it has done. It has fulfilled its duty of getting the qualified lead, of grabbing their attention and them expressing interest. They then move into this area, which is the working the qualified lead. You need to have systems and processes set up to cover all of this if you want to maximize your growth and maximize your conversion rates from paid campaigns. Last thing then is usually handled on the clinic's end, not ours. But this is bookings. So this is setting up direct bookings, making it easy for people to book in. It's giving people booking reminders if they haven't, or if they have, so that they show up. It's automating patient recall. It's automating reviews that get left in order to boost things like your SEO and boost your performance over here in the qualification process. And it's documenting the journey again, so you can get some content for social media for your website and so on. This is a pretty simplistic overview, but again, in the 5 years of me doing this, I think 90%, if not more, of the clinics I speak to are not doing anything to get qualified leads. If they are doing any of this to get qualified leads, they have completely overlooked this entire process. And let me just show you what this actually manifests as if you go spend money on advertising. So here are two examples. In both cases, you get 100 qualified leads from your ads. So your ads have done what they need to do. In case one, immediately calls from a trained receptionist who understands how to nurture the lead and warm the lead and deal with any objections. All questions are answered. You've got a booking set up so that they can initially book in. You might get a 20% conversion rate from your ads. In this one, you get a qualified leads. No one contacts that lead. 24 hours later, someone tries, no one picks up. You can see in this process how your conversion rate will be much lower. In both cases, the ads are the same. The ads are performing in exactly the same way. It's the process that happens after the ad, so long as the ads are performing as they should. For context, how you should measure whether your ads are performing correctly or not are two metrics, one called hook rate, one called click-through rate, and then also getting feedback from bookings that come from ads directly. So at the end of the day, you want to measure what's closest to revenue, and that is bookings for us. We want to know that our ads are generating bookings, but they cannot do that without this crucial piece of the puzzle. This should be handled by people. It should not be handled by AI. We have some systems and processes that can make this slightly easier for reception teams, but at the end of the day, healthcare is personal, should remain personal, especially for higher ticket services where you're expecting people to spend thousands of pounds with you. They should not really be greeted by something that they do not trust in the first instance. I hope this is a useful overview. Again, this is based on us spending well over £750,000 on ads over the past few years. It's based on us working with multiple clinics, some who go on the scale very aggressively, others who are in the same position a few months later, even with high converting ads. SEO that's drastically increasing the number of inquiries they get from organic traffic within a period of 6 to 12 months. Social media that shows exactly who they are, what they do, and is fostering good engagement within the community. Without this crucial piece of the puzzle, without people who know how to handle leads, work leads, nurture leads, you struggle to get bookings. So this is a kind of heads up to anyone who is spending money on their ads, especially who doesn't do any of these things and also doesn't have data set up. It's also a heads up for anyone who's thinking about investing more in marketing or has a current marketing partner. These are the things that you should be considering and the data that you should be looking for in your reports. Thanks.